Okay. This is the instructions for a Lee pistol reloading kit. Specifically, this is for the M1, but it doesn't matter. You can this goes for any straight case, any case without a shoulder, like a revolver. This type of a case, just a straight case. This is 223 and 556 here. These have a shoulder. That's just slightly different. But for what we're talking about here is these are for a straight case like this. I happen to use it for, this is an M1 carbine, or it's the M1 30 carbine, or 30 M1 carbine. There you go. Let's say it like it's supposed to be. This is what I started with. This is for a 223. This thing's out of the 80s. It's different. It primes differently. Just an older style. You can still get these. When I find these old ones, I buy them. They're on eBay. Because I really love this primer here. This priming tool. This thing's awesome. The newer style, this is a couple years old. I think Trump was president when I bought this thing. But it's got everything you need is here. But it's just a different style, different setup. This thing's different. This is a different kind of priming tool. It doesn't matter. You see it. It's upside down right now. But this is how you put the primer in compared to this style. I prefer this, but this works just as good. Once again, this is for the directions you're going to see here are basically designed for the straight cases. I'll show you a picture of each of this. You can stop it, read it as you go. If you're someone who's acquired one of these without the directions, which happens quite frequently, especially if you buy these at garage sales. Here's, let's get this out of the way. All right. Typical cartridge, that happens to be a shoulder. We're dealing with a straight case. This here is interesting, crimping the bullets. Most of your bullets are going to be crimped. It says here, creates sufficient pressure, yada, yada, yada. Unless, the exception here is, bullets should not be crimped in for most rimless cases, such as the 45, the 38, the Super, the 30 M1 carbine, the 9mm Luger. And this is an issue I had with this carbine. Anyhow, I've straightened it out, but come to find out, it doesn't need to be crimped. Get my shadow out of there as best I can. And yeah, get a handbook, get a Lyman, which gives you all of your recipes, powder. Okay, here's the tools that come with this kit. This one I have does not have a flaring tool because it claims the M1 does not need to be flared. Let me show you that real quick. That's important. This is a straight case. This happens to be the M1 carbine. The bullet is going to slide right into here. Okay, but it's a tight fit. So if you took a flaring tool and you flared this out just a bit, the bullet drops in there a little bit easier. Because this one doesn't get crimped, it doesn't want it to be flared. Okay, that's the difference between this and a lot of other bullets. But they do want it, they call it chamfered, which is this little thing right here. It shaves off the inside, gives it a slight bevel. I don't know what to tell you about that. I have one for this, but for most of these, you do not need that. Anyhow, all the tools you need are here, except for the flaring tool for this particular one. Other pistol kits, you're going to have that. Limited warranty if you care about that. See, it says here it's got the flaring tool, a little star, omitted on some caliber. Okay, now the instructions. A couple of things here. This is true. Unless you get them too hot, you can reload these almost up to 100 times. This is where you want to get your lineman book or some other book about your powders. Depending on the weight of the bullet you're using, the powder you're using, it's going to vary how much powder you use. It's about a $40 book. You can get it anywhere. You can get it on Amazon. Must have. I use the lineman. I should have a picture of one here. I left that in the house. Here's some do's and don'ts. Okay, step 1. There's 2 tools like this here. The one they're talking about in step 1 is this tool right here. It's gonna knock out the old primer. Okay, step 2. Three. This is a different tool. Looks very similar, but it's got a flat end. This is the one they're using there. Like I said, for the M1, this does not have a, we don't have to flare it, but other rounds you definitely will want to. And if you don't have, I have a flaring tool. That's a legitimate flaring tool right there. Okay, I can't, probably $8 or $10. It's probably an RCBS or something like that. You could make that. I've actually used, here we go. I've used one of these before. I've used a bolt, where a bolt, hard to find the right one, but see where this bolt and flares out right there? I've used that before, I think on the 357, to flare it out. Okay, back to the directions here. It's got your powder measure there. You'd want, if you don't have a lineman, you can, I'm sure you can Google the information. Let's say you got a 38, you got a 125 grain, you know, round nose bullet, and you happen to have some bullseye or something else. It'll tell you it should be this many grains, or in this case, it'll say cc's. And you're going to want to get a scale too. You get a Amazon, about $16, priceless. Number 7. Once again, you could use, I've used a hammer, a ball peen hammer. I've used a hunk of wood. Here's your old rubber mallet. If you use something metal, you're going to scar this thing up. You know, if you had to use a piece of wood, like, you know, smack it with a piece of wood, you could do a 2x4, gets the job done. But it's a love tap. It's like if you were tapping your thumb, you know, you wouldn't want to break a nail or something like that. You're not really trying to kill this thing. And you just keep tapping it hard enough until it knocks this, until it seats the bullet. It's not a big, you're not taking a big swing at it. And let's get the picture here correctly. Yes. Too much glare. This is when they're sizing it. Once again, I don't have to crimp this 30. But let's say any other cartridge, any other round, any other caliber, if you did the flaring tool, let's see here, if you flared this thing, it was flared out. Wish I had one right here. I don't have it with me. When you powder it, you put your bullet in there, you got to close that flare up. You got to crimp this thing around the bullet. That's what's happening over here. Hopefully that made some sense. Simple steps, nothing to it. After you've done 5, 6, 10 of them, you'll screw up a few of them. But you do 100 of these and you got this thing down. My suggestion is buy a whole lot of bullets, Then buy like 100 cases, get you some powder, get you some primers, and go to town. Don't go real heavy on your cases. Go heavier on your bullets, because you're going to reuse these cases. If you mix them properly, you don't have to use, you know, unless you use some magazine fed thing or something like that. But like for a revolver, you know, if you get 100 rounds, it's a lot of rounds. Then once you've got those kind of, you can store those up and just keep adding to it. But that's what I would do. Don't be afraid to get into these if you're going to start into reloading. Start small with one of these hand loaders, these Lees. I said they're about $40. I love these things. Yeah, if you have a 38 caliber handgun and you've got one of these, it resizes into that specific gun. You may not be able to use that bullet in some other 38. That's an issue. Oh, big deal. I get a whole bunch of 38s. And actually, when I do them, it fits in almost all of them. So that really doesn't become an issue. Anyhow, I'll shut up. Get you one of these. Have some fun. Love you. God bless.